Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. I hope you'll be praying that may Allah save us from this pandemic so that we may get out of houses and we may enjoy the life again. As you know, university is closed and we have to study through online lectures. There are many means and sources for this online education, uploading lecture on YouTube's via WhatsApp, other social media, but I have found this one much better, this audio recording and PowerPoint presentation. So it will be better for all of you to, this visualization when you are looking at the words and you are listening this audio, the things will be much more clear to you. So let's start with our lecture. Before the university was closed, we covered literary forms and idealism, and the next topic was Renaissance. So, Renaissance means rebirth, as I mentioned in the right corner bottom. It can be its meaning rebirth, a revival of something, reawakening, re-emergence. You can say something that is almost dead, it gets alive again. Something that was forgotten, it is again brought into the memory. Something that has not been given that much value. Now it is being given much value by the people, or by the communities, or by the societies, whatever you want to take as example. So Renaissance is a period that is from 14th to the 17th century in Europe. First of all, I must tell you that why do we use these terms like idealism, like Renaissance, like Middle Ages, and all that? These are actually when the historians and the literary figures, they define literature or define events in a specific country or in a specific continent throughout the history. Then, keeping in view the similarities, they divided. For example, if they say that first millennium or first 5 centuries, they were they termed it as ancient in terms of literature, that it was ancient Greek or something that was conventional or something uh, that was not modern. Why? Because all the writers, all the incidents that took place in the first 5 centuries, I'm just giving you an example, all the incidents that took place in first 5 centuries, there is similarity between the incidents. And as the events start changing after a lapse of time, then there is another similarity starts. For instance, you can say that in first 10 years, for any 10 years, like uh, you can even talk about this 20th century, the first 10 years were the years of war. Nobody knew in 2000 that we are going to have 10 years to face this, sufferings of the war all around the world. But what happened, because the incidents that took place from 2001, 2, 3, 4, there were different wars all around the globe going on. So the historians, they may name it after 20, after 10 years, after 5 years, even now they may name it as the first decade was the decade of wars. The second decade of 20th century was the decade of peace. The third decade was the decade of prosperity. I'm talking about that if somebody will write in 2050, 2040, 2030, when they name it according to the decades, because there are similarities. So in Renaissance, when we talk about, because in every region, in every part of Europe, everywhere there was re-emergence, reawakening, rebirth, everything was going to change. Now, let's talk about its historical division as I was talking about, because understanding Renaissance without understanding this historical division in Europe or in England, you will not be able to understand what Renaissance is. So in historical division, we have first uh, from 1 to 5th century till 5th century. It was ancient or Greek. They dominated all around. We talk about, before that, uh, we talk about Aristotle, Plato, and others, and his companions. Those they were the teachers and the students to each other. So they had lot of contribution towards literature, philosophy, and all other fields of life. After that, from 5th century to 14th century, they have named it Middle Ages or Medieval Ages. Middle Ages are also uh, known as Dark Age, or you can say the age of. In this Dark Age, it was death all around, wars, disease, everything. From its name, you can understand that there was melancholy all around, there was sorrow all around. There was uh, nothing, uh, nothing done to literature. So nothing was done for the literature. We do not observe any prominent writers or any renowned writers in literature or science or other things. So in Dark Ages, in the first half of Dark Ages from 5th century to 11th century, it was actually in this Middle Ages or Dark Ages, church or religion it dominated. Everything that used to happen, uh, any incident that took place, it could never took place without the consent of the church officials. Church officials means the Pope, those who have the authority of religion. So the state functionaries like the kings and the queens, they were dependent upon the consent of those uh, church officials, priests, and popes. Once I can give you an example, just for an example, if a king has taken a decision to open a new university, but the pope, the religious authority, he says the establishment of a university is against to the teachings of Christianity. So that university could never have been opened. So you can imagine, you can get an idea from this. Just I give you an example. For example, just an imaginary example, like the authority of the king, who has authority over the masses, over law of the country. He has to run the state affairs, but still he was in those days, from 5th century onward to 11th, 12th, 13th, about 12th century, 13th century, the religious scholars, they were having more power, and most of the writers, thinkers, and intellectuals, they belong to church, or they belong to religious authority, like a pope or a priest. And most of the writings, even they were all the writings and the ideas, they were all about Bible and gospel. In Christianity, they have Catholics and Protestants. So it was a Catholic period, and everything was in the hands of the church officials. So that is why it is known as Dark Age, because there was no development in science, technology, literature, arts, arts and humanities. So there was nothing. It was only the superiority of the religion. Then from 14th to 17th century in Europe, it became Renaissance, that I have already discussed, and after that as modern age. So Renaissance is actually, you can say, it was a first step of world, the first step of the writers to move towards modern age. So the history is divided in this way: ancient Greek, Middle Ages, So the history, as I discussed in previous slide, because I let you know that while recording this lecture in PowerPoint, we have to keep in mind this recording time. I want to give equal time to every slide, that is about 5 minutes. So in previous we were discussing about the modern age, and then the modern age started. And what is modern age? The modern age is about science and technology advancement, and medicine in every field of life we have. So how now the question arises, until now, let me tell you, we are not discussing English Renaissance. We are at at present we are discussing in this lecture. We will be restricted. We will confine ourselves to only Renaissance, how it emerged in Europe, how it came from different areas, what were the reasons, how it started when there was dark ages and there was nothing like science and technology and modernism and literature. Nothing was going on. So what happened actually? What motivated the people of Europe that they thought to become modern people, sorry. So the traces, it goes back to, as I discussed in previous, that ancient time there were Greek writers. Greek writers, they were quite modern. They were not very religious or very conventional or orthodox. They were their writings, their philosophy. They believed in human efforts, and they believed that humans or man have a lot of things to do, or he can do many things. Um, Before that and after that, it was thought that everything that happens in life or happens in the world, it happens by the will of God. So at present, we also believe that everything happens by the will of God, but God has also given authority to man to work hard. So to work and to explore something. So those Greek writers till 5th century, they tried to explore something other than from religion, keeping in mind the power and energy and mentality and thinking of man, that what a man can do. After that, from 5th century onward, Europe again, almost all over the world, people they again went back towards religion instead of going towards more modernism, because it was the time when Christianity that spread all around in Europe, and it had, too much power. It gained too much power as it was spreading in the beginning. So religion took power all around. So Europe, the Europeans, through trade, they had contact with the Arabs. So from Greeks, the knowledge it transferred to Arabs. So Arab were the people who were actually very scientific, very literary, and very knowledgeable. Europe, the Europeans, they learned a lot from Arabs, and they thought that if Arabs they are doing like kind of self-awareness, and they are spreading knowledge. So Europeans, they should do something. They must have something of their own, like literature and books, that they can teach to their generation, or they can also make progress. So first contact was Europe with the Arabs, and then it was one of the reasons that the fall of Constantinople. Constantinople is a city that we know as Istanbul in Turkey. So many of the Europeans, they were living there, but as the Turks they attacked and they besieged it, all of them they went back to Europe with their knowledge, whatever they learned from there. They thought that they should explore the knowledge they have gained from Greeks. So what they had, they could not actually follow the lines given by the Arabs, but they thought they should better explore the knowledge and the books, the ancient books written by ancient writers. So you can say that the Italians, they started learning the Greek writers, and their main writers were Dante and Giotto. They both were Italians. Dante was a writer, famous writer. He was, you can say, the pioneer of Renaissance in Italy. And Giotto, he was a painter. His paintings were quite famous. So learning started spreading in Europe and scientific reasoning. So now in Europe at that time, they started giving scientific reasons to everything. Before that, it was thought that everything happens supernaturally. Now they were giving reasoning to everything, that whatever is happening, there is some reason behind it. You can say the beginning of science it was. Now let's talk about humanism. Humanism is actually associated with Renaissance. Humanism is not a negation actually, but it is opposite to theology. And theology is something that in theology we study about God, study of the God from 5th century to 14th century. They were only discussing the center of discussion for the writers, intellectuals, scholars, philosophers, scientists. That was the study of God. So whatever they learned or whatever they transferred to the people, that they were not their own ideas, but actually what they did, they got their ideas from Bible or from religious teachings. As far as humanism is concerned, as I told you that Renaissance it started from Italy, so Italians were the first who gave birth to literature, science, and everything. Humanism means uh, that everything doesn't happen supernaturally. It is, you can simply say, that the study of man. Theology study of God from 5th century to 14th century, they were discussing the study of, they studied God in every aspect. The center of discussion, the center of their writing was God's teachings. Here, the men now they were thinking about the man, the efforts of the man, that what man can do. That there are many things that happen uh, because of the wrong decisions taken by the man, or because of the right decisions taken by the man. So before that, it was believed that if a man is taking a right decision, he is taking this right decision by the will of God, and if he is taking some wrong decision, then it's by the will of the God. So everything that used to happen, that was attributed to supernaturalism. So here, humanism, it was all around uh, study of man. So materialism study and searched for realism and human emotion in art. So realism means you move towards reality, something that is from supernatural. Before that, they used to think about, write about supernatural elements. Now they were coming back and they were writing about human emotions and reality. That what is actually happening in reality. Renaissance writers did not object Christianity, but one thing you must keep in your mind, that humanism, although it was not the study of God, the study of man, it was not supernatural. It was discussed that the writers they were discussing that if something bad or something good is happening to a man, it is not about supernatural, but it is someone that is having a scientific reason. So actually, they did not object to religion. They did not object to Christianity. They did not object, like saying that God has nothing to do, but everything has to do by the man. The most important thing about Renaissance that they give respect to religion, but at the same time they try to tell people through their writings, through their ideas, that man's activities or man's acts, they are, every time they cannot be supernatural. So everything doesn't happen supernaturally. There is a reason. There is act of man, thinking of man. The next is understanding rationally. So they try to teach the people that it is not about, everything should not be attributed to supernaturalism, but actually we should understand everything in reality rationally. That why is it happening? And Machiavelli is a famous writer in Italy. He wrote the book The Prince. I mean, a short book of 100 and almost 50 pages. So It was published somewhere in 1526 or 1529. I don't remember the exact date, but it became so famous all around the world. At present, even though you can download it directly, you can read it, you find it a very interesting book about how to govern and how to have relations with other countries. It was all about politics and diplomacy, foreign policy. So it is really very good. So Machiavelli is also, it was the time when he published in 1520, it was 16th century, the time of Renaissance. So Renaissance authors also began increasingly to use vernacular language combined into the introduction of printing press. This would allow many more people access to books, especially the Bible. So the last line, as I read, it was about how Renaissance that the people they started thinking uh, about rationally, about facts, about happenings. Like whatever is happening, it is not happening by chance, but it is happening by the efforts of man. So again, we are moving towards humanism. Renaissance could be viewed as an attempt by intellectuals to study the improve the secular and worldly, both through the revival of ideas from antiquity and through novel approaches to thought. So the new thinking, new thoughts they were given to the people. Till 14th century, man was living in one thing that whatever is happening, it is happening supernaturally. There is no scientific reason behind it. But now they starting the intellectual, they started making real efforts, real attempts to tell the people that it is not actually supernatural, it is somewhat something that is in the hands of man also. So definition of humanism is given here that the genius of man is the unique and extraordinary ability of the human mind. So as I'm, you know, repeating this word thinking of man, actually that was the thinking. As it is mentioned here, the ability of the human mind, what a human mind can do. Because one thing, I give you an example, and I hope the topic would be clear with this. Like a human mind, if at present this pandemic, COVID-19, coronavirus is spreading all around, it's a global disease now. Every country, every region, they are trying their best to escape from this disease, but it is spreading with so rapid pace. There are two thinkings that we can have at present. One, that the disease has come, naturally, and its cure uh, it will be automatically cured. As it came naturally, it will be cured naturally. So leaving everything to God and doing nothing. But second thought is that that disease has spread all around the pandemic. A pandemic is a disease that spread, globally. But it happened naturally. But man should do his efforts in laboratory to develop vaccinations to cure this disease. This is humanism. Those who believe in God but working in laboratories trying to make vaccinations, trying to make medicine, how to cure this corona disease, they are actually the followers of humanism. And those who believe that this cure would automatically be come from the heavens, they believe in uh, theology. So this is one of the examples that once you start believing that you don't do anything, but you see that everything would happen naturally, that is theology, or orthodox or conventional thoughts. But when you believe that it is in the hands of man to develop something, to make new things, to make new inventions, then it becomes humanism. So through this example, you can understand what actually I want to say. So they were secular also, like open-minded, and they were religious also. The people in the Renaissance, or those who were, teaching humanism. So they were not actually negating the authority of God. They believe that God is the ultimate authority, but God has given wisdom to human, God has given mind to human, God has given thinking to human, God has given so much rights to man that he can make his own decisions. He can take his own decisions, whether they prove right or wrong. Before that, it used to happen that if a king has taken a wrong decision, those who believe in theology or strictly believe in the religious teachings, that if a king has taken a decision and the decision was, uh, you know, fired back, or it did not prove come up to the expectations of the king, then the main excuse used to be that it happened naturally, so it was not in the hands of man. But humanism, they negated this idea. They started telling that kings must take decisions after a lot of thinking. So the main learning, you know, art, science, and other learnings in uh, Renaissance, that was libraries were open to public. Before that, there were a few libraries, and the number of books were quite less, because one thing that we will discuss, that is the printing press. Nowadays, whenever we want to take some handouts, some printers, we have printing machines and more modern machines that help us. But before this Renaissance, one of the most important factors in Renaissance, in the rebirth of knowledge and literature, that was the invention of printing press. Before the invention of printing press, the writer, he used to write his books, or a master copy is written, and the rest of the copies, they were not printed. Actually, they were again written by somebody else. So if a writer has written one book, how many copies he could produce? He could produce 100 copies, 50 copies, 200 copies, and those copies, they used to be very costly. And the access of the books, it was only to elite class, the wealthy class, because when a book is written and a second copy is also handwritten, definitely it becomes a precious thing. So it has always value. It had always value. But after the invention of printing press, books were published in millions and millions of copies, and the libraries, they were filled with books, and libraries, they were open for common people. Now a common person uh, could visit the library, or and could get knowledge, any kind of knowledge, from the book. After the printing, through this printing press, now we see that in Europe there were not many writers at that time when this printing press was invented. So what they did, they started translating the books written by the ancient Greek writers. As I told you about, from 1st to 5th century, their works, they were translated in various languages. So this was first time that translation of books, it started. Translation of Bible started. So people started coming to know that what actually knowledge is. In this way, Renaissance spread all around. And as far as printing press is concerned, it was invented by Johannes Gutenberg. He was a German, and as I told you, through this invention, the books, they came to common man. And one thing I tell you, that when we will discuss about English Renaissance, Renaissance in England, the name of the person was William Caxton, who brought this printing press to England. He was himself a writer too. And the subjects that were covered by Renaissance, they were science. Obviously, when we talk about reasoning, we talk about science, philosophy, arts and literature, self-awareness, that to know about yourself while understanding and analyzing philosophy and books of different literatures. So it was self-awareness, that to tell the people that it is not everything doesn't happen naturally. You have to realize yourself that man has also wisdom and also thinking to do many things. Then religion, of course, as I told you, that the religious books, they were printed and they were translated in common languages. Before that, it was Latin that used to be the highest or political or elite language. But now the books they were translated in local languages and printed. Then music and geography and all about those navigations, forces of navy, like movement of the ship in sea. It was also there. So these were the subjects that were covered in Renaissance. First libraries were open. It was invention of printing press that actually so printing press was the major factor in Renaissance that gave birth to knowledge, literature, philosophy, and intellectual. Then we talk about coming back to that was uh, all I told you how this Renaissance it came to Europe, and it was Italy where it started. In Germany, the printing press was invented, so you can understand that from Italy it had moved to Germany, and now it was coming to England, France, and other countries also. I'm giving because in next lecture we will discuss in detail about Renaissance in England. But this Elizabethan age or the era of Queen Elizabeth, it is important to discuss here so that it will be in your mind that what we are going to discuss in our next lecture. So it was the time of Renaissance in 16th century when Queen Elizabeth, uh, Elizabeth I, she became Queen of England. Now, as became Queen of England, knowledge was spreading all around. She was herself fond of learning, and she was, you know, she herself wrote poetry. She liked literature. She liked every activity of knowledge. So, whenever a king or the ruler or the one who is sitting at the top, who is having a lot of authority, once he patronizes something, it starts spreading all around. So, as Queen Elizabeth, she was herself, it is also written in some books that she could dance well also. She had a lot of love for art. So, she promoted literature, philosophy, poetry, everything that was related to knowledge. It really emerged under her, queenship, or you can say that in her regime. And as far as literature is concerned, um, if you think about start analyzing different eras of history or various eras of history in England or in Europe, so Queen Elizabeth is the one under her regime literature flourished a lot as compared to other eras of history. It was also this Renaissance period is also known as Elizabethan period, and it is also known as Shakespearean era because Shakespeare, the most famous writer, now you are in second semester, but after that you will read about his, about Shakespeare, his plays, his dramas. He wrote tragedies, comedies, tragicomedies. His sonnets, about 154 sonnets he wrote, and his sonnet number 18, uh, that is more famous, and it is known as one of the famous sonnets of the world. Uh, Writers got freedom to write about humanism. So this was the time that if someone who's writing about, so there was no restriction. You can say that now, at that time, Queen Elizabeth, under the authority of Queen Elizabeth, there was no restriction to people, no restriction to writers to what kind of ideas they used to have. Before that, now you might be thinking that how can a king stop a person or stop a writer to have a philosophy or to have a new idea? You can understand with this because in medieval age or in dark ages, no writer was allowed to write. If something has written contrary to religion, contrary to the thoughts established by the religion, or you simply can say the status quo of religion, the writers, they might be punished at that time. They were punished also. So there was a restriction for the writers that if somebody wants to write, he would have to, keep in limits. He would have to remain in limits. If somebody crosses the limits, then the trouble will start. So writers at this time, all the writers, they were free to write ideas, but again, they were not against a religion. No writer actually wrote against religion. This was the only restriction. The other restrictions, they were lifted in this era, specifically in the Queen Elizabeth regime. So prominent writers of English Renaissance that we will discuss in our next lecture, that is in 16th century marked the beginning of English Renaissance with the works of writers. The most famous writer Shakespeare, and the next one Christopher Marlowe. He wrote Dr. Faustus and other plays. He died at the age of 28, but he was really a very excellent writer. Edmund Spenser, he wrote Fairy Queen. Sir Thomas More, Francis Bacon, Sir Philip Sidney. So they were the most prominent writers of Renaissance period, English Renaissance in Britain. So while talking about these writers, uh, because in previous slide uh, we were discussing about the writers, they got a lot of freedom. So we can here we have William Shakespeare. Shakespeare wrote tragedies, wrote comedies, wrote tragicomedies, wrote sonnets, wrote everything, but there was no restriction at all. And he wrote many plays, as I told you that his sonnets were 154 and his plays, I don't exactly remember the date. I mean 36 or 30 plays he wrote. And it was a huge number, a big number at that time. What Shakespeare wrote, he actually in all his plays, there is no mention of religion. There is no link to religion to his plays. He actually has his own philosophies, human philosophies. That is why they say that his plays, they lack morality. As far as Christopher Marlowe was concerned, he had an influence of the previous religious teachings. The teachings, whatever the message was delivered to the people, that was delivered with the help of the religion. So Christopher Marlowe, because uh, he died somewhere in 1585 or 1580. As Shakespeare came, Christopher Marlowe was dead at the age of 28 or 30. So they are just, as Christopher Marlowe dies, Shakespeare emerges. And both of their writings, if you make a comparison about Marlowe and Shakespeare, you can, make a difference that how religion had impact on writing and how the man they get freedom from this religion. Freedom of writing doesn't mean that they started writing against religion or they started making fun of religion. It was not like that. They started writing about human efforts, about human wisdom, about human philosophy, about something that was something different from religion. Before that, every idea that was given to the people, it was supported by the religious aspects or religious philosophy. For example, this Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, uh, you know, the character Dr. Faustus, he was having lot of knowledge and he thought that he would challenge the authority of God. And at the end, he repents at his act. It was also a touch of religion in his dramas, but in Shakespeare's we do not find. And in Edmund Spenser, the Fairy Queen, again, there were, different types. Edmund Spenser used, it was allegory he used to teach the people instead of taking some examples from the religion or some sport from the religion. So these two writers, the Shakespeare and Marlowe, if their writings and their writing styles they are compared, one can easily understand that when religion has a lot of impact on writings, What kind of writing were there? There is a, you know uh, something that we can get from Marlowe's dramas. But as far as Shakespeare is concerned, he was free from all these limitations. So there are other prominent writers also. It was not only the dramatists, they were poets and they were prose writers and they were there were also highly intelligent, poets. They were also they also wrote in this Renaissance period in 16th and 17th century. So in Queen Elizabeth's era, Renaissance era, Shakespearean era, or you can say rebirth or any other. So now, as I was discussing that, you can say the Elizabethan era or Renaissance or these two terms that are mostly used, but because the Renaissance it also uh, flourished under the regime of Elizabeth. So this was all about Renaissance in Europe, how it spread, how it came, how people started writing, and I have given you just a slight touch about how it came to English and who were the prominent writers. So the questions that you need to answer in this after listening this lecture, you will write all those answers in your. You can even write it in Microsoft Office Word or you can use Page to write. What is the difference between Dark Age and Renaissance? That I have already discussed that Dark Age there was nothing like knowledge was not given priority or value in the Dark Ages. In Renaissance, it was knowledge that bulldozed every other idea. So knowledge became more powerful. In Dark Ages, it was only wars, deaths, disease, and everything. The second one is how Renaissance spread in Europe. As I told you, it came to Italy. It started from Italy. Then from Italy, it started spreading in the neighboring countries, and it, with the passage of time, it covered all around the Europe and all other countries. Renaissance actually started in late 13th century or 14th century, but it came to England in 16th century. So there is a difference of 200 years. It started spreading all around. So it's actually a period of 300 or 400 years. And there is one thing I must tell you about this. So that we would, yes, one thing about it, this Renaissance spread in Europe because there was actually a plague, pandemic. As you know, at present we have this coronavirus pandemic, a contagious disease that spreads from one person to another. In the same way, there was a disease, a kind of disease that spread all around. So the people they had to move from one area to another, from one country to another. So this was also the reason because when contagious disease it spread, then they started thinking that there must be a cure for that. Before that there was nothing like that. That we will discuss in our next lecture also. So it was also one of the reasons, the plague or pandemic or the disease, this was one of the reasons that actually made the people more energetic to cure it and to go all around Europe. Then we have explained in detail the difference between theology and humanism. As I have told you already, theology means study of God or study from religion, teachings from religion, but humanism is about the human wisdom, human power, human thinking, human philosophy, and human intellectualism. The fourth question is why is Elizabeth I known as the patron of Renaissance? Why she is because she patronized all the writers. She was herself a writer and she loved literature, arts, everything. So under her regime, Renaissance actually spread uh, in England, and common writers they became famous one. Before that, from 5th century to 14th century, we hardly find any prominent writer. But the teachings they were only religious. From 16th century, we have Christopher Marlowe, Shakespeare, as I give you the names in the previous. So there are other names too. There is a long list of the writers that we will discuss in our next lecture. So this second question is how Renaissance spread in Europe. All of you must search in Google, search internet, different sites, YouTube, others to find out. Also read some books. The book that I have given you about history of English literature written by David Dashes, that can be more useful for you to find out that how it spread all around and what were the the reasons. I have also explained, and you can get lot of knowledge from those books also. The additional knowledge for your understanding. And now let's come to our next lecture. Now, in coming lecture, we will be discussing about arrival of Renaissance in England, how it came to England, what happened, what was the style of writing of different writers, how it had impact on science, in reasoning, literature, arts, humanism, theology, and all the things that we have discussed that used to happen, that how it started from Italy, the incidents that took place. Now we will be discussing the incidents that took place in England after the Renaissance came here and how it came into England, that will also be discussed. So I summarize the lecture. First of all, we discussed what is Renaissance. It is rebirth, revival, re-emergence, re-emergence of knowledge, rebirth of knowledge, reawakening of knowledge, reawakening of man, that everything doesn't happen in supernatural way. The things they happen with human mind and human wisdom also. We discussed that how the Italians they had a contact with herbs, and herbs they had a lot of knowledge about different various subjects and various disciplines. So when Constantinople it was conquered by the Turks, the people living there, the Greeks and the Italians, they went back to their countries, and there they thought, because Constantinople it was thought as the center of learning, it was one of the centers of the world, the highest center of learning. So while going back, they thought that they should also develop some centers of learning, and from where they should get books, because for past 1000 years, from 500 5th century to almost 13th, 14th century, nothing was written that could be discussed. But even if there were few things they were discussed or invented, they were quite negligible. But now they took sport from ancient Greeks, so they thought that the books written by the Greek writers they would be discussed or they would be taught to the people. So in this way, from Constantinople, Istanbul, it went to Italy. From Italy, they started learning about the Greek writers. They talk about science and philosophy and human wisdom and self-awareness, music, religion, every aspect, geography, navigation, and everything. They talk about it. After that, it started spreading all around, and a German, resident, not discovered but invented. He invented this printing press that actually made the books available for common people. Before that, they were not available for common people but for high elite, because of the fewer copies they were published. But after the invention of printing press, millions of copies they were printed. And after that, we discussed about humanism and theology. Theology was the study of religion. Humanism was the study of human efforts, human thinking, human mind. The value was given to the human genius. That what is human genius actually? That what man can do? What of man's thinking? How can man invent many things? How can he use his mind? How could he use his mind? So these were the things, factors uh, that I discussed in this lecture. The next we move to Elizabethan age, a short summary of Elizabethan age, that she was um, very fond of learning. She had a lot of keen interest for literature. So under her regime, great writers they emerged. In it was time of Renaissance. Like Christopher Marlowe, Shakespeare, and others, Edmund Spenser also. So they all emerged in this Renaissance period under the regime of Queen Elizabeth. Uh, so one thing I also discussed in the lecture that this feminism, the followers of feminism or the writers those produced in this Renaissance period, they did not actually objected the authority of religion. They did not object Christianity. Christianity was the only religion in Europe at that time. So, and after that, I posted some questions, and this is the next lecture that we will be discussing. Hope you will enjoy it and you will find it interesting.